TV5, Ms. Lucy Cruz Valdez. Let me just read very briefly from the statement, really just to, as a brief preamble. We've already submitted our statement, but just reading briefly, just to set the preamble, and then we'll get to just a few substantive suggestions. Kapag may sapat at tamang impormasyon si Juan de la Cruz sa mga isyong panlipunan, hindi lamang siya armado sa kaalaman, gaganahan at may engganyo rin siyang makilahok sa pagpapaunlad ng bayan. These were the words of President Benigno Aquino III in November last year. We have been critical of the President and his allies in the past months for what we perceive to be a perplexing, softening, and sliding stance on FOI. But we are here today in good faith, in genuine hope that for all that is past, and by whatever reasons this has been delayed, we are still and again moving forward surely, and this time with clearer urgency. It is obvious to us that it is now obvious to an even greater number of Filipinos what access to information means and can bring. Our institutions are in crisis. From having prosecuted 2 presidents to impeaching a Chief Justice and now exposing anomalies in Congress, Filipinos see that the only thing that can save all our flawed houses in one fell swoop, what can restore confidence in the very proposition of checks and balance, is law. Finding Janet Lim Napoles guilty of plunder will not easily restore the credibility of our legislature nor the executive. Even successfully prosecuting a number of legislators will not quite convince Filipinos of long-lasting change. More meaningful than impeaching the Chief Justice, more stunning than jailing a president, more selfless than giving up your pork barrel, more courageous than stepping out of the Ombudsman's way. Nothing will herald a new dawn more clearly than passing a law that tells Filipinos, here is your government, we have nothing to hide. Or maybe we do, but even if we wanted to, there is no way we can hide it. The prevailing dismay among Filipinos is not only about all the sickening information now coming to light, but about the very reminder that information was never accessible to start with. And were it not for relationships going sour, for relatives turning against each other, were it not for the sheer luck of co-conspirators turning against each other, we would still be completely complacent. Not in the dark, for people always knew. We always had an inkling what was going on. Not that we were blind, we could always see. But this is the ultimate danger of lack of access to information. It is the deadened ability to move on despite what we know but cannot prove. We instill in our children the skills of complacency and surrender to the things they hear us condemn and curse and do nothing else about. Lack of access to information engenders a culture of impunity. It reminds us that we are not really the boss of you. I lived in Thailand for 6 years, and Thailand is the first country in Southeast Asia to have an FOI law. I always like sharing this. In Thailand, it was not any anti-corruption drive, nor any sensational prosecution of any government official that brought home the point as to what FOI means. The landmark case that mainstreamed the consciousness for FOI was not even a journalistic enterprise. It was not some investigative report. It was no work of the press. It was the crusade of a mother who, as I think all of us can relate, could not immediately accept nor believe that her daughter had failed to enter and pass a state university exam. She petitioned officials to release the full results of everyone who took the exam, and she found, as many had suspected, and as many had culturally, by culture and by experience, many had accepted, that children of more affluent, more influential personalities had, of course, passed and gained entry despite not having a higher grade than her daughter. The point here is that The current environment in our country creates the impression that the clamor for FOI is about wanting evidence and material with which we can go and check on our officials and leaders. The environment creates the impression that it's about media asking for more power. The objective actually is wider, deeper, and more basic than that. What people truly want is to know how their taxes are being spent, how their futures are being shaped, how decisions are being made on any and all matters that impact their lives. We fight for FOI not because hounding you or being hounded is the most enjoyable thing in the world, but because we need citizens who will not only be equipped, but will know how to take care of themselves and therefore look out for each other. Filipinos who will find that where information is fully accessible, citizenship becomes inescapable. We want that gift, we want that power, and we want that burden. And only then will we know that we have woken to a new day in a new nation. One of the things that we think will allow people to participate, na maingganyo at gaganahan, as our President said, to take part in this is, and this is one of our suggestions, is to include in the bills some definition not only of accessibility, but also of usability of the data. Without such a definition, we think it might create a very, very big loophole in any law, because it becomes very easy to be simplistic and even to be glib about granting access to information. A lot of the government agencies now do post a lot of information. A lot of LGUs will post PDF files, Word documents, and so on. When we went to the DBM site for the PDAF, and they have a special site now for PDAF releases, one of the most exasperating things was to see that on the front end, on the homepage of the website, it was not necessarily in any format that's easily usable or sortable. It was, I mean, just to it was basically rendered in some HTML format, and you could see the data in front of you. You will have to click through so many websites just to compile all of it again. And when we asked the officials of DBM, our contacts in DBM, why is it formatted this way, they acknowledged that on the back end of that, they did have a very easy, very simple database in Excel format that could have just as easily been uploaded, and therefore would have been much, much more easily been usable for sorting. Without that kind of access, what we are getting is not even something where we can drown in. What we're getting is just an avalanche under which we will be buried, and we will not be able to sort or use any of that. I'll use an even more basic example, just in the past week, of how ridiculous and how incomprehensible it can get. There was a lot of public interest, obviously, with the testimony of Ben Hurluy, and people were waiting for the transcripts. People were patient. They understood that it will take 2 or 3 days for it to be uploaded. When finally it was uploaded basically in PDF format, but not only in PDF format. It was basically a printout that was scanned and then uploaded, and then converted into PDF and then uploaded. Under the draft laws, that would satisfy, I think, uploading a digital file because it was converted into PDF on a government website and giving people access. But the reality is, when you're given a transcript that is, I think when I checked, it was, I don't even remember how many pages long. It is not something that's easily usable, you will agree, for any layman, for any people. Most people would want to be able to search that document with a tool as simple as Word.